Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of High School Roundup here on COTV, COTV Sports 1. I'm your host, John Sakaguchi. As always, joined with me is Peyton Trollinger. Peyton, what a chaotic week this week in high school football. Oh, we got a lot to talk about.
Lots of scores, lots of matchups, and lots of craziness. We got to get into it, so let's get right into it.
All right, let's take a look at the highlights from our game of the week as we traveled over to Brownsville for this one. And Peyton, I'll let you take the lead on this one here.
All righty. Elizabeth Ford playing Brownsville at home. First of all, we have Zion White dropping deep into the pocket, firing downfield to open Zach Boyd to get on the score for the Warriors. Up next, Brownsville unfortunately had to punt this one away. The punt is away, and it is received by Charles Neguet, who uses those wheels of his and takes it all the way to the house for the extra 6 points. And that extra point was made. Next, we have Zion White with the bubble screen. Whoop! And that's Charles Neguet again down the sidelines using those afterburners to get another touchdown for Elizabeth Ford. On fire tonight. Next, we have White, deep step in the back pocket, quick slant across the field for a touchdown to Zach Boyd once again. And here we come up on the last scoring play for Elizabeth Ford. Zion White in the pocket. He's going to give it to Charles Neguet. Doesn't like what he sees on the left side, so he's going to cut back using that awareness to go to the right side. He has blockers, and he's going to get in there for the touchdown. Your final score of this game, Elizabeth Ford 44, Brownsville 0.
Yeah, it was rough to watch because you had so many injuries from happened to Brownsville. They were already coming in with a short bench, and then you lost a couple more key players during the game, and then it just seemed to snowball there for Brownsville. But I'm looking for them to bounce back here soon, and I do think they're going to finally pick up a win here. Or I wouldn't say this week, but I think later on down the road in the season that we're going to see the Falcons in the W column at some point.
And I mean, considering how Brownsville did play this game, it's a wonder Elizabeth Ford didn't score more. So it's very good for the Falcons to have held the Warriors to only 44, considering they had so many injuries.
Yeah, and what a lot of people will forget is the week before they were playing Laurel Highlands, who we're going to talk about here shortly. He came in and put up 60 points against them.
Exactly.
And the fact that Brownsville kept them at bay that long.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was trying to say. Like, it's very good for the Falcons that they were able to, even though it wasn't the outcome that they wanted, still it's a little bit of progress, and that's all that they can do right now.
Yeah. Let's take a look at our next set of scores here.
All right, our next set of scores, Bell Vernon traveling to West Mifflin. Bell Vernon coming up easily with the win, 49-3. And then we had LH on the road to Ringgold in a comeback victory, 32-29. And I believe, John, you have some highlights on this game.
I do have some highlights from this one, and thanks to our friends over at South Union Township for the videos as Ringgold playing host. It was homecoming week for the Rams up at Joe Montana Stadium as they're getting all fired up. We'll start here as Ringgold takes the opening kickoff and gives themselves a very good field position up over the 40, right there at midfield to start the game. Good way for the Rams to get started. Driving downfield, and wouldn't you know, first pass play of the game, Ringgold. Catch, score, 26 yards for 6. Shortly after forcing a 3-and-out, who else? Rams again with Orslowski on the touch, and that'd be his first touchdown of the game. They would miss the extra point here. They're coming up, so 13-0, and Ringgold takes the lead in the first quarter. Moving on here to the next play coming up. I do apologize. We had a little editing issue earlier. Hey, right here as we start. Ringgold bringing pressure once again, and Rodney Gallagher does find a receiver. However, right there at the end of the play, ball comes out. Rams recover. They would stall inside the LH territory. He didn't even have to punt. But who else? Rodney Gallagher takes it. It finds some open field down on his own sideline, turns on the Afterburners and takes it 89 yards to the house to get LH on the board. And once you know, Rodney Gallagher back at it again, finds an open man, but it's picked off by a Ringgold, who sets themselves up deep inside Mustang territory once again. And wouldn't you know, Orslowski, he finds another open lane, pounds his way in for the end zone. Then Rodney Gallagher drops back, finds a man right there on the near sideline, keeps his toes in, touchdown. But the Mustangs trail at the half, 21-14. But the LH starts the scoring in the second half, gives himself a field goal, puts himself within 4. But the Rams, Orslowski, finding another open lane, gets himself back into Mustang territory. That'd be it for the third quarter, but now Ringgold scores, puts himself up 27-17. And here on this 2-point conversion, looks like Orslowski's going to get tackled in the backfield. Finds the lane, keeps his feet turning, and dives in for 2. Makes it 21-17. But Rodney Gallagher and the Mustangs would not go quietly into the night, as he's making a big play downfield, finds his receiver, puts him deep inside the Ram territory. And then Rodney Gallagher is going to call his own number here as he bounces off a couple defenders and into the end zone after he gets up and over, brings them inside a 29-24 your score. But now the Rams once again, and fighting their way forward, gets himself into Mustang territory, but on the very next play, Orslowski fumbles the ball. The Mustangs recover and start the drive that would make a difference here. Here's Rodney Gallagher once again, using his feet and had a pigskin around a little bit, and his receiver dragging defenders down inside the 10-yard line. Sets him up for this play here, as Gallagher takes it himself once again, puts the Mustangs up 30-29. Then Rodney Gallagher drops back and finds an open man and puts him up 3 point, and it's 30-29. And then Ringgold looking for some light. It's fourth and the game on the line, but he is stopped short of the sticks, and this would be your final score as the Mustangs would win in 32-29. And as I had said earlier, the Mustangs came back to win, and it should be noted, Rodney Gallagher threw for 172 yards and ran for 25. Orslowski, leading the way for the Rams, ran it for 172 with 2 touchdowns in a 2-point conversion. But still, you got to give it to LH.
What a comeback victory by Laurel Highlands. I wouldn't say that would necessarily be an upset, but that is definitely a comeback, because LH obviously is ahead in the standings, but just to keep fighting like that, you're down by a couple scores, coach is like, hey, you got to get out there, you got to play like you want it. And that's exactly what the Mustangs did. Yeah,
and here's what a lot of people don't realize is the Rams were driving after forcing that fumble. I honestly thought when I went back and watched some of the film that they were going to put them up 21-0 20-0 after they missed that extra point.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stalled inside Mustang territory. Rodney Gallagher calls his own number, takes it to the house, also gets them on the board, and it just seemed to snowball after that.
Every play counts in football, and that is a perfect example. You have to take control of those opportunities, and you have to capitalize them, or you're going to end up on the short end of the stick, just like Ringgold.
Yeah, let's take a look at some more scores from around the area.
So we have South Allegheny traveling to Southmoreland for an exhibition matchup. Southmoreland getting the win at home 33-19. Next up, we have a close matchup. South Park traveling up to Yock to play the Cougars. South Park just coming out on top of this 14-0.
Yeah, both were close scorers. Let's take a look at these ones here in some conference play. As Beth Center falls to Chartiers Houston 29-0, and then Peyton Your team over at Charlotte, getting steamrolled by McGuffey, 41-0, and tough loss there.
Very tough loss. McGuffey is always a really tough team to play, especially whenever they play Charleroi. So props to the Highlanders for getting a very decisive victory.
All right, let's take a look at our next set of scores.
Now we have Washington playing on the road against Waynesburg Central. The Prexies dominating this one, 57-14 over Waynesburg Central. And then we have an interesting scenario here. Amani Christian was on the road to play Greensburg Central Catholic. Amani Christian ended up forfeiting that matchup, so GCC comes away with the win.
Now we take a look at this one and some more conference games going on. Jefferson Morgan and taking the win from Avella, 32-0. And then what we thought was going to be a close contest, West Green takes the victory over California, 48-22.
Let's take a look at our next set of scores here. We have Carmichael's on the road traveling to Mapletown, and the Mikes are able to get it done on the road as they come up on top, 44-18. Next up, we have the Greyhounds of Monessen traveling to Bentworth to play the Bearcats. Monessen easily coming up on top of this, 50-7, and wow, that program has come very far in these past few years.
That they have. We'll take a look at our next set of scores as Connellsville traveled up to Kiski area, where Kiski takes the win, 41-7. And then the conference matchup between Fraser and Ligonier got postponed this week. I have no idea what happened there. I couldn't find anything in the news about it, but I hope that game gets rescheduled here soon. And so we'll take a look at our next set of scores now.
And whenever we do get information on that game, we will tell our audience. Next up, Mount Pleasant traveling to Latrobe for a matchup. Latrobe coming out 35-0, able to shut out Mount Pleasant. Next up, we have another very close matchup. Quaker Valley on the road playing Brentwood, and Quaker Valley able to get it done on the road, 16-12.
Yeah, that was a close one. As we take a look, we have another close one here Peyton, as Stowe Rocks knocks off Avonworth 19-16. And then this one was a rough one, and I was hoping my boys were going to pull the win, but they didn't. And as AG defeats Uniontown 34-0.
Man, they shut them out too. That's not good. I'm sure you're not happy about that, John.
And that's always a classic rivalry. AG and Uniontown always seem to play each other a little bit tougher than anybody else on the schedule. I've played 4 of those games throughout my career at Uniontown, and everyone puts it all on the line of that one, just as much as they do against Connellsville as they do Laurel Highlands. But AG's looking pretty good this year. I can't wait to see what they do next week, but we'll talk about that coming up. But we're going to take a break here, folks. When we come back, we're going to have the upcoming schedule for you, standings and our pick'em games of the week. See how we did last week and what's coming for this week. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Vulcan Volleyball is back, and you can catch all the action with CUTV and the PSAC network. After a year away from the court, the Vulcans are set to try and get back to the top of the PSAC. A full slate of action versus such PSAC opponents Gannon, Mercyhurst, Edinburgh, Clarion, Seton Hill, Slippery Rock, IUP, and Pitt Johnstown. Every home game will be live on CUTV Sports 1 and the PSAC network.
Welcome back to High School Roundup here everyone. I'm John Sakaguchi, joined with Peyton Trollinger. And I wanted to send this out there to you real quick, folks. If you have highlights of a big touchdown play, a crazy catch, big defensive play, send us your highlights to our emails down here or below at sak8734calu.edu or to Peyton at tro5802 at calu.edu. And who knows, you might see your highlights here on High School Roundup. But Peyton, we got a lot of games to talk about this week.
Yes,
He
we
got a
do.
lot of good conference matchups. So let's jump into the schedules.
All right, for the 1A Tri-County South Division Conference, we have the Bearcats of Bentworth traveling to Carmichaels, Pennsylvania to play the Mighty Mikes for a matchup. Next up, we have Jefferson Morgan taking on Monessen at Monessen. Then we have Mapletown traveling to local California. And then we have West Green traveling up to Avella. So some nice 1A matchups to look forward to. Let's take a look at some other upcoming schedules.
Take a look now here at the Eastern Conference schedule. Well, only 2 conference games scheduled this week as Jeanette's going to take on Amani Christian and Springdale versus Leechburg. Look at our next set of games coming this week is in 2A, the Century Conference. Chartiers Houston travels over to Washington High to take on the Prexies there. McGuffey over to Fraser, and Williamsburg Central is traveling to Charleroi, so that should be an interesting matchup. Actually going to be one of our games of the week this week.
Yes, it is, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Next up, we have the Interstate Conference for 3A. Brownsville traveling to South Park in what could be a good matchup. Then we have the Scotties of Southmoreland traveling to Mount Pleasant in our high school roundup pick'em game of the week. And then we have the Yacht Cougars traveling to South Allegheny.
Yeah, a lot of good matchups in an interstate conference. Let's take a look at the next set of games for this week. As we go to 4A, as Hampton takes on Highlands. Indiana travels down to play Greensburg-Salem. Knox travels over to Armstrong, and Plum playing host to Mars this week. So good conference matchups there in the Greater Allegheny Conference. And so let's take a look at the next set of games we got coming up here.
Up next, we have our 4A Big 8 Conference. We have McKeesport traveling to Trinity, Pennsylvania to play the Hillers. Thomas Jefferson playing Bell Vernon in what is going to be an amazing game. Also a high school roundup pick'em game. And also we have West Mifflin traveling to Laurel Highlands, who you just saw on the highlight tape, and just so happens to also be a pick'em game of the week.
Can't wait to see the highlights that South Union has for us in that one. Let's take a look here in our non-conference and independent matchups. Beth Center travels over to Elizabeth Forward, which should be an interesting matchup this week. Brentwood travels to Steel Valley. Connellsville over to Peters Township. Ringgold travels down to Uniontown. Allegheny High from Maryland and down in Cumberland will come up to play Albert Gallatin. That's also another game of the week for us.
Lots of really good games to look forward to here, Johnny.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. But we're going to take a quick break here, folks. When we come back, we're going to check out the conference standings as well as our pick'em games of the week and see where myself, Peyton, and the rest of the crew stand right now for our pick'ems. So we'll be right back after this.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to High School Roundup up here, folks. I'm John Sakaguchi, and joined with me, as always, Peyton Trollinger. Peyton, I meant to ask you something last segment. And so where in the world is Trinity, PA at?
Trinity, PA is a district in Washington, PA. Sorry about that.
I was lost there for a second. I didn't register with me for a moment, and then I caught onto it. But I'll let it slide this time. And so let's jump right into the standings here, folks, and take a look at everyone's conference standings. We'll start here with the Tri-County South. as Carmichael's is at the top of the conference right now with Monessen, West Green, Jefferson Morgan also winning their first conference matchups. California, Mapletown, Bentworth, and Avella seeking that first conference win. And now the reason that everyone's ranked the way they are is because of their overall rankings. So let's take a look at the next conference schedule.
All right, for the 2A Century Conference, we have the Prexies on top at 4-0, 1-0 in the conference. Chartiers Houston and McGuffey also share that 1-0 in the conference. The Bucks are 3-0, and the Highlanders are at 500, 2-2. Waynesburg Central 0-1 in the conference, 1-3 overall. Then you have the Bulldogs and the Cougars towards the bottom at 0-3 altogether. And the Commodores of Fraser 0-4, not very good for them. Also
noted that Fraser has not played a conference game. But let's take a look now here at the standings in the Interstate Conference 3A football. As Southmoreland 1-0, 3-1 overall. Then right behind them, Elizabeth Forward are 2-2 on the season and picking up their first conference win this week. South Park also picking up their first conference win and 1-2 on the season. Brownsville, South Allegheny, and Yock, they're 0-1 in the conference, also seeking their first win of the year. And Mount Pleasant, and at the bottom of the conference, 0-0 in the conference, 2-2 overall. But they have not played a conference game, and that's why they are at the bottom.
All right, let's take a look at some more standings around the state. Well, locally, you know what I mean. For a Big 8 conference, we have Laurel Highlands on top at 4-0, undefeated so far. Bell Vernon and Thomas Jefferson, who are going to be playing this week, both undefeated at 3-0. We have the Ringgold Rams in the middle of the pack, 2-2 overall. Then we have the Trinity Hillers, 1-3 overall with West Mifflin, and McKeesport there at the bottom at 3-1. McKeesport is down there, as Johnny said, because they have not played a conference game yet.
Let's take a look here at the 5A Big East Conference. And it's Gateway leads the conference right now. Nobody's played a conference game to be noted here yet. They are 3-1, and Latrobe at 2-2, as well as Penn Trafford, Franklin Regional, and Woodland Hills tied for that fourth spot at 1-3, and Collinsville still seeking that first win of the season at 0-4. There's going to be a lot of jumbling this week, Peyton, as we talked about with the upcoming schedules and stuff. And what I'm looking forward to is going to be that TJ Bell Vernon game. And depending on what happens against LH this week, you could see one of those three teams moving up spots, moving down. Laurel Highlands could be sitting second or third by the end of the night, but it all depends on what happens in that game. But we're also going to want to keep an eye on TJ Bell Vernon.
That 3A game is going to hold a lot of weight in that conference. There's so many really good teams in that conference, but especially TJ and Bell Vernon. They're both undefeated, as we saw, and they are big rivals. So we're going to see where we're at the end of the week, and we'll see who's right with the pick'ems and who's not.
Speaking of pick'ems, let's take a look now here, folks, at our pick'em games of the standings, actually. Bobby D jumping up and it's tied for first with me now. There's a four-way tie now for third place, as Peyton, Doug, Colin, and Dylan are all tied at 6 and 4. Gary trying to get it back over 500 at 3 and 7.
Not very good for Gary at all.
Yeah, but I'm still not counting Gary out yet. And you got to watch out for that the wild card or with Colin.
Yes, Colin has been known to just sneak up there in the standings. Same thing with Gary too. Gary says that he's going to come back this week, but I don't know. I'm not believing it.
And then you have to worry about the guru, Bobby D. But here's our pick'em games of the week to watch. Thomas Jefferson versus Bell Vernon. West Mifflin at Laurel Highlands. Southmoreland playing Mount Pleasant. Waynesburg Central versus Charleroi. Allegheny High from Maryland versus Albert Gallatin are our games of the week. Peyton, I'll let you go with your picks first on this one.
Alrighty, so I chose Thomas Jefferson to win over Bell Vernon. I feel like Thomas Jefferson can get that taken care of on the road. My second pick's actually going to be a little bit of an upset. I'm actually going to go with West Mifflin on this one. I did see Laurel Highlands just play, and I thought about changing it over, but I decided to go with my gut, and I'm going to go with West Mifflin here.
All right.
For my third game, I'm going to pick Southmoreland to take it on the road against Mount Pleasant. And then for the Allegheny and Albert Gallatin game, I've got to go with the PA here, Albert Gallatin all the way. And last but not least, I got to back my boys in the red and black. Charleroi taking the win over Waynesburg Central.
All right. I'm going a little bit of a different route than you are in these picks. I'm taking Bell Vernon for the win at home. I think they're going to upset TJ up there at Bell Vernon High School this Friday. I think Laurel Highlands stays undefeated against West Mifflin this Friday. Mount Pleasant gets it done at home. I'm going with Allegheny High with the upset over Albert Gallatin. And I'm taking Waynesburg Central over Charleroi in this one.
You're going 0-5, Johnny.
You're
going 0-5.
Okay, hey, we'll see who's right at the end of this one. But that does it this week, folks. We're going to be back again with our game of the week next week. We'll also have more highlights, scores, and more. And we're going to see what kind of mess we have after this week with all the standings. For Peyton Trollinger, I'm John Sakaguchi. We'll see you next week, guys. Take care.